Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I thought we'd make this cute little sending hugs card using some Lawn Fawn products. We're going to be using some of the new Valentine products and mixing them in with some of the older ones. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by taking the Little Flowers die set. This one is a little bit older. It's got the flower pot, the stem, and the flower. We're going to grab those dies and we're going to die cut them from the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and take the flower pot and the little topper there and the stem and the flower, and I'm going to run them through my Tim Holtz Sizzix Sidekick machine. This machine is great for these little items. It's a lot easier than having to pull out your large die cutter. So I went ahead and die cut those, and now I'm going to take the Really Rainbow 6x6 inch petite paper pack, and we're going to be using these 3 sheets of paper here. That one has that beautiful variegated color on it. So we're going to go ahead and from the green paper, I'm going to die cut another stem. What I'm going to be doing here is layering these together. I just want to give it a little bit of weight behind it. So I'm going to glue those two together in a minute. Now I'm going to grab the new Candied Hearts set, and I'm going to grab that flower from the other die set. And I'm going to die cut the solid heart and the flower from the pink. And this is the Ballet Slippers 100-pound cardstock. And then I'm going to grab the striped paper and I'm going to die cut. So from the striped, I'm going to die cut the hugs heart and a solid heart. And then from the pink, I'm going to cut 2 solid hearts and 1 of the pink flowers. So I went ahead and die cut everything. There's the flower pot, the 2 flowers, the stems. And I have 2 of the pink and 2 of the striped, 1 with the hugs on it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the one that says hugs to the pink heart here. And that will allow that word hugs to show through. And I just think that is so adorable. And the heart that goes behind it is just a hair smaller than the heart on top, which makes it really easy to get these lined up perfectly. So now I've got those 2 ready to go. I'm just putting an acrylic block on there to allow those to dry. And now I'm going to take this stem and glue these 2 together as well. And then for the 2 flowers, now I could have easily cut these both out of the pink. I just wasn't thinking, so I did 1 white. And it's just the backing, so it's not going to matter. And then I'm going to grab the flower pot here. I love this little flower pot. I think it's so adorable. And I'm going to take Victorian Velvet and Festive Berries, and I'm going to color this in. Now you could use your markers or your Copics or whatever you like to use, but I find sometimes doing the shading with the ink pads is really easy, especially on something solid like this. So I'm just putting the Victorian Velvet all over, and then I'm coming in with the Festive Berries, and I'm coming in from the side. And I'm just pulling that color from the side into the center of the pot there. So it kind of looks like I'm going back and forth, but I'm not. I'm just coming in, pulling in towards the center from both sides there. And then I'm going to do the top of the pot a little bit where it would be darker inside. Then taking the Victorian Velvet, I'm just going to blend those 2 out. And you can see what a quick and easy shading you get from this. So it's really quick and easy to do. That's why I love doing my coloring this way whenever I can. So now that's going to layer right there on the top of the pot. So I'm just going to take a little bit of foam mounting tape here, and I'm going to place a few little pieces of it along that edge just to give this pot a little bit more dimension. I'm just going to take the backing off of the foam tape and place that on the pot. Now I should say that in between I did dry the pot off just to make sure that that adhesive would stick. So I used my heat gun to dry everything, and then I put the tape on there. So now I'm going to come in with that Distress Festive Berries and just ink the edges of my flower a little bit. And again, that'll take that white edge away as well. So now I'm going to use my Sizzix paper sculpting tools. And you get 3 tools in the set with this foam mat. And you also get, I believe, scissors and tweezers with this set. I'm going to use the small ball end of the tool, and I'm just kind of going from the center and pushing down and pushing it out just to sculpt the edges of those petals a little bit. And then I'm taking the larger ball tip and just pressing down in the center. This is going to give us a little bit of dimension. Now for this little solid heart here, I'm just going around the edges of the heart with the festive berries. I'm not even re-inking, I'm just adding a little bit of ink there just to give it some definition. And I'm going to do the same thing for the one that's going to go on the inside of the card. And also for the little stem here, I'm going to grab the Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide and I'm going to apply a little bit of ink again along the edges there just to take away that white edge and give it a little bit of a shadow. Now I'm just going to put a little dot of glue on the back of this, and there's a little slit in there, so I'm going to slide that stem through and just let that dry. So while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and put this flower on the center of the solid heart. And I'm just using that ball tool to hold it down for a minute. And then I'm going to apply a dot of glue at the top of that stem and apply the heart. So now for the butterflies, I'm going to use that paper that has the variegated stripes. And this is the mini pop-up butterflies. And you can see on the example that some of the butterflies only pop up the wings and some cut out completely. That one there cuts out completely. So I'm going to grab that one and I'm going to grab the centers of the butterflies there. And then I'm just trying to choose where I want to cut those butterflies. I thought this was going to make it much easier for me to do the butterflies in some various colors without a lot of work, basically no coloring. So I grabbed some little sections of that piece of paper and I'm just going to die cut those 3 butterflies. Now that I have those die cut, I have those little centers. I'm going to just apply a little bit of glue there and glue these on. And these are very tiny, so you will need some tweezers and a little bit of patience, and you can get those done. So I'm going to let those dry. Now I'm taking this little koala bear from the I Love You Eucalyptus set. I just love him. I think he's so adorable. I couldn't wait to use this one. And I'm going to just mount him on an acrylic block and grab my VersaFine Onyx Black ink pad and go ahead and stamp him. And now to color him in, I'm going to be using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens in Oatmeal and Dark Oatmeal. And this is just a light shade of brown and a little bit darker shade. So I'm going to start off with the lighter shade, just applying it kind of randomly all over here. I'm just going to do a section at a time, so I'll do the head, his little head first. And then I'm applying the darker one, again, just a little bit where I think it would be the darkest. And then I'm going to go to my Tim Holtz water brush. This is the detailer tip water brush. And I'm going to just blend that out a little bit. And I'm cleaning off the pen as I go, or the water brush as I go, just to make sure it doesn't get too much ink on it. And I'm just going to continue to blend that out. Now you could certainly use a lighter shade of brown to do your blending, which I like to do as well. But in this case, I decided to use the water. And here I'm going to grab this light pink and I'm going to do the cheeks. I decided I would do them before I finished my blending, so that I could blend them out first and then kind of go around them a little bit. So I'm going to continue blending that out, trying to keep it fairly light in the center of his little face there. Now here you can see that I accidentally started with the darker marker, and it's not going to matter. I'm just going to blend it out with the lighter one. Apply that lighter marker color. That's the thing, these are very forgiving, so even if you apply too much color, you could always remove some of it with your water brush. Just apply some water and then get a damp paper towel and blot it up. So don't get panicky if you think it's a little too dark. You can always remove a little color. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to blend that out a little bit. And I decided on his little tummy area I wanted a little bit of that pale pink. So I went in and applied a little bit there and then continued to blend. Now for his little, I needed to do his little other foot there and then the little tail. Just doing the same thing. Now for his ears, I'm going to use the light pink and the pale pink. So I'm going to start with that lightest color there. And then I'm going to apply the darker one. And again, blend those two together. Just checking to make sure my water brush is clean before I go to a new color. So I'm just rubbing it off on the scrap paper there. Just making sure that it looks clean. And then I'm going to just continue blending this a little bit. And I did decide to add a little bit more pink to his tummy area there. So that looks good. Now I'm going to grab the coordinating die and I'm going to go ahead and tape that down. And I'm using a little bit of purple tape here. So that's all set. Now I'm going to go back to that ballet slippers cardstock to make my card. Because it is a nice heavyweight cardstock, I'm going to cut this at 4 1/4 by 11, and then I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. So it will be making a top folding card, which is my favorite style of card to make. I tend to go to that the most. So now I'm going to grab my Teflon bone folder from Lawn Fawn. And I wanted to show you, sometimes when you use your cutter, you get that little bit of a raw edge. If you grab that Teflon bone folder and rub it along that edge, it takes away that roughness, and I love it for that fact. So now I'm taking the Polka Heart Backdrop, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut that, and I'm putting it on a slight angle, and I'm running it through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine. And then I'm just going to use the Tim Holtz pick tool just to poke out those little leftover hearts there. So that's going to fit exactly on my pink card. And I was trying to figure out where to put the glue on this, and then I realized that if you go on an angle right up those in between there, you can just put glue very easily without having to dot it all over. So, so then I just lined it up on my card and attached that to the front of this card. So that's all set. So the next thing I'm going to do is the grass, and I'm going to use this border here from the Stitched Hillside Borders, and I just kind of wanted just a kind of a little bit of a hill, but not too much. So I kind of angled it up there a little bit on the other side so it wouldn't have too much dimension or angle to it. And then I'm going to run that through my little Sizzix Sidekick as well. And you can see that it's a little longer than the plates, but it runs through just fine. Just be careful that you don't, bend the metal or anything. But I haven't had that problem yet. So I'm taking the Distress Oxide Mowed Lawn, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of ink along the top and the sides of that little grassy hill there. Now that's going to fit right on the bottom of my card. So I'm taking my Tombow Mono Dot Adhesive, and I will give you the information for all of these products down below. And I'm just going to apply that to the bottom of the card. Now, I thought I would do the panel for the inside of the card here. So I'm going to grab some Bristol Strathmore paper, and I'm using the outside in stitched stackable rectangles dies. And I'm taking that largest one. And I went ahead and die cut that, and you can see it has that beautiful stitch border all the way around the edges. And then I'm going to place it in my Misty, my stamp positioner. And from the Simply Sentiments stamp set, I'm going to take that phrase, "Just for You." So I've already placed it on the Misty, and I'm just double checking here that my little hugs heart is going on the inside, and I want to make sure that the saying is lined up just underneath that. So I'm going back to the Festive Berries, and I'm going to ink that up. Now, I don't always stamp the insides of my cards because I'm not sure what I'm going to be using them for, but in this case, I thought "Just for You" could be, in the end, either a Valentine card or a birthday card, so, or just even a thinking of you card. So in a way, I kind of left the options open for myself. So I put some adhesive all over the back of that, and I'm going to go ahead and place that in the card. And now I'm going to grab that little heart, and again, putting adhesive on that, I'm going to place that right in the center above that saying. And that finishes off the inside of the card. So going back to the front here, I'm going to use the Sending Hugs. This is the Sending Hugs line border. And this is very interesting because it makes this nice straight line underneath the saying. And I'm going to cut it a little longer than I need it to be, because I'm going to center it on the card and then cut off the excess. So I die cut 4 of them, again out of the Bristol Smooth Strathmore. And when I line these up, I like to bend it up a little bit and then attach the middle part, and then everything else seems to fall in place. I don't know if that makes sense, but I kind of bend the saying a little bit, and then I place it down, and then I don't have as much problems with the glue seeping out. And I'm going to let that sit and dry, and then I've got the 4 attached together here so you can see what a nice thick embellishment that makes. So now I'm going to take that saying, and I'm going to go ahead and attach it to my card. So I'm just applying the glue all over the back here. And you will see that it is going to hang over. I will be trimming that away. So I just wanted it long enough so that I could get it centered. And I'm using the lines on the Tim Holtz Mixed Media mat here underneath to line up that saying. And you can see that I'm lining it up with those little grids underneath there. And that helps a lot, making sure that you get it straight. So I'm going to let that dry. So once I know that's dry, I'm going to cut that off. And it is a little thick to cut through. That's why you want to make sure it's nice and dry before you try to cut this. And it cuts off nicely. And then I'm going to set that aside while I grab the little bear here. And I want to attach him to this little flower pot. So I'm going to cut down his little paw there and the little foot as well. And I'm just cutting a little slit in there so that I can fit the flower pot right in his arms. So I'm going to grab the glue and just put a little there behind the ear there, and his little paw and the foot there, just to attach it for now while I get it in, just trying to position it in place here. So now I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to apply some foam mounting tape to the entire back of this piece, just to pop it up a little bit on the card. And I'm making sure to put a little down that center of that stem there, just to make sure that it doesn't move around. or get crushed when it's getting mailed. So I removed the backing on the tape, and I'm going to go ahead and place that down. So now I've got my little butterflies here, and I'm just going to try to figure out where I want to position those. And I'm sorry, that one's a little off camera, but I placed that one up towards the top, and then I've got one here on the flower pot. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those down. And those are all set. So I'm going to grab my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen in the crystal clear. And I'm going to just apply this clear glittery sparkle all over the tips of the petals there on the flower, and then on each of the butterflies. And it's amazing what a difference this makes. It just brings them to life. So I finished up applying it to all 3 of the butterflies. And then I decided I'm also going to put some on the sending hugs saying across the top of that entire thing, and that also did add a lot to it. I don't know if you can see it very well there, but it gave it a lot of sparkle. So now I want to take my black Jelly Roll pen, and I'm going to go back over his eyes and his nose and mouth there with this pen. I just thought it got a little lightened up with the coloring. So I'm going to just go ahead and darken that back up. The only thing I will warn you on using that pen is it does stay wet for a little while, so be very careful you don't touch it. I've done it many times, so I know. And then I just added a little bit of white dot to the center of each of his eyes there with the white Jelly Roll pen. Now I'm grabbing the Gloss White Nouveau Crystal Drops. And so I decided to do the center of the flower. So I didn't die cut the flower center from the dies. And the same thing here with the eye on the sending. I didn't try to layer up all those little dots. I thought it would be easier just to apply the Nouveau drops. And I'm just tapping the cardstock a little bit to get that to drop down a little bit. Sometimes you get that point. If you tap the cardstock, you can drop that point down a little bit to get more of a rounded top. So there you can see the finished card, all the glitter and detail, and then inside you can see the beautiful little hugs just for you. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe, and don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. Thanks so much for visiting, and have a great day. Bye-bye.